Hello and welcome. This is Your City in Action here on Salina Media Connection. I'm your host, Todd Pittenger, from the Rockingham Media Group of radio stations. I'm the news director, most notably for News Radio 1150 KSAL here in Salina. I do the news, so I know just a little bit about everything. What do they say? Jack of all trades, master of none. So I know just a little bit about the news, just enough to be dangerous. So a fun show lined up today, informative show. Joining me is Evelyn Nelson. She's from the Salina Community Relations Department.
Yes,
did I get that right?
You did.
All right, let's start. You've got a big event coming up. We'll talk about that. But first, just talking to you off camera a little bit, I'm fascinated by what you do at Salina Community Relations.
Thank you.
Tell, for those that aren't familiar with what it is, what exactly do you do there? What is your office responsible for?
Sure. Our office enforces the city's Equal Opportunity Ordinance. That is Chapter 13 of the City Code. And we accept discrimination complaints from individuals in our community in Salina.
Right.
And so that's one portion of what we do, which is kind of that legal compliance portion. But then there's also the community engagement portion. We do trainings. We, go out into the community and educate the community, because we can reach a lot more people with education than we can with that compliance issue.
All right, you investigate discrimination. Tell me, what is it? Local? Is it state laws that determine it? Is it federal laws? All of the above? Who is protected in Salina?
Sure. So in Salina, we have our own local equal opportunity ordinance, and it covers housing, employment, and public accommodations. Public accommodations is like a business. You walk into a business, you feel discriminated against. As far as so that's the local portion of it, and then as far as federal, we get guidance from the EEOC for our employment, Department of Justice for our public accommodations, and that's just general guidance. But we do have a special partnership with HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and that is a federal agency, and they enforce the Fair Housing Act, which is a federal law. So we get special guidance from them because we have that partnership. It's called a Fair Housing Assistance Program. They call it a FAP. So we get that special guidance, and we get the special funding from them for that. So that's a special partnership that we have.
So who is protected when it comes to housing and public accommodations and transportation? Who is protected, who is not protected?
Sure. So as far as being protected, you have to be in a protected class. So it's based on, with housing, based on race, sex, disability, national origin, color, and familial status is one for housing. That means if you have children under the age of 18. So those types of things. Employment, it's the same kind of things around, throughout the different the housing, employment, and public accommodations. With employment, you add another one. It's called age. Age.
Yes.
So if you are over 40,
if you're an old guy like me.
No. If you're over 40, you can be protected from being discriminated against based on age. So. Those are kind of the protected classes that our ordinance covers, and we take our ordinance is kind of draws on the federal law, so the EEOC law, the federal employment law, the federal housing law, and then public accommodations as well.
Now, your department is not about convicting people. It's not about judging people. It's not about coming to a conclusion. Is it? You gather the information. Tell me about that.
So our office, we gather the information. We do the investigations. We do have our Human Relations Commission who makes decisions, and then there's a whole process. But I guess I can just take you through the steps of what an investigation would look like.
Absolutely. So take me through the steps. Say somebody comes in to your office, sits down, and says, I think I've been discriminated against. What happens then? So
someone comes in, we have an application process. They'll fill out an application. At that point, I'll take a look at the application. If they are alleging something that could be discrimination, then we accept the application. If they're not alleging something that could be discrimination, then that, we tell them, sorry, we can't help you. We do, refer them to like the Kansas Human Relations Commission or the, Human Rights Commission, or, HUD or a federal agency, just in case they want some extra, they want to check with them first. Right. But if it is something that's alleged discrimination, at that point we will, make contact with the respondent, let them know that there is a complaint against them in the office. We push conciliation, which is mediation. It's just really trying to come into an amicable solution regarding the case. If that doesn't happen, we're doing the investigation. We're going through that, and the investigation could be anything from gathering, documents, interviews, those types of things. Really, just that fact gathering process. Conciliation, that mediation process is available anytime throughout the entire complaint process. So if it's not conciliated, if it goes through the entire investigation, at that point we will send our entire file to the commission. The commission, there are 3 commissioners that look at it. If they determine that it's not probable cause to believe that there was discrimination, that the case is going to be dismissed at that point. If they do think it was probable cause at that point, we're really pushing that conciliation again. We're trying to get this case conciliated. I did want to mention that conciliation, in that before the decision process, if it happens before the decision process, there's no fault that's admitted. If it happens after the decision process, and the commission says, what, we do think it's discrimination, there is, some that ruling there, but you still can conciliate. At that point, if there's no conciliation, it's going to go to public hearing. And where a judge is going to decide, was there discrimination, was there not? If they say, no, I don't agree with the commission, there was no discrimination, then that case is going to be dismissed. If the judge says it was and they agree with the commission, at that point the judge can enter in a damage award, and then they can ask the respondent to stop discriminating. So that's really the entire long drawn out process.
Yes. Now, do you have a lot of cases? Do people come in often? I mean, a town the size of Salina, 50,000-ish, a little less than 50,000. Is that enough to keep you busy?
Well, yeah, we're very busy. We have over 20 cases right now, and I can say that we're very, very busy as far as the case portion of our office. Again, we're trying to conciliate as many as possible. Not only does that just take less resources, but it's really the goal of this. You just want people to come together, being able to discuss their differences, come to an amicable solution so that we can move on in the community and live peacefully and enjoyably.
Right, because no matter what happens, we all have to live together afterwards.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
Again, this is Your City in Action here on Salina Media Connection. I'm your host, Todd Pittenger, from the Rockingham Media Group of radio stations. My guest today from Salina Salina Community Relations is Evelyn Nelson. Now, you talked about one part of your job is education. People need to know what their rights are, and maybe just as importantly, what their rights are not, because that can get a little confusing. Tell me about the education part of your job.
Sure. The education part, again, we do housing, employment, public accommodations. We're really trying to get people to understand what their rights and responsibilities are, because under the law, you have rights and you have responsibilities.
Absolutely.
So, we want to educate people on the Fair Housing Act. We want people to understand, what they need to do and what their rights are in the employment settings. And as far as public accommodations is probably one of we get the least amount of cases on. A lot of people, I feel like they don't understand that. And that just really generally means, if you walk into a business or some kind of public place and you feel discriminated against, you can file that complaint in our office. So, we educate, anybody that wants training, they can come to us. If they want bias training, cultural awareness training, diversity training. It's not necessarily just the civil rights portion. It's that whole other side of it where we really push empathy. We want to build empathy in our community, because we feel like if we build that in our community, then a lot of these complaints, they'll kind of cease to exist. And we talk about a lot, like some people say, well, you won't have a job if you don't have complaints. You know what? I will risk that. I don't want to have a job.
Absolutely.
I want us to live peacefully in our community.
So you'll go out to business, say I want to gather my staff in the conference room at my radio station. I could make an appointment with you, and you could come up and give us some training for a couple hours or whatever?
Yes, we can do that. We try to craft our trainings. We try to individualize them. So like what you're looking for, kind of based on our experience and our expertise, we kind of craft a training that would really fit in the organization and help you achieve your goals. We've done some training for schools and different things. Like we really enjoy, even working with kids. It's really fun, just giving them those empathy building exercises. So, we work with anyone, and we really just try to, again, empathy is kind of the main goal in those trainings.
I would guess training is important because probably the accommodations, the laws, they're ever changing, right? Is that a fair statement?
They are, and I think that's kind of the reason why we stick with empathy, like as a core goal, because you know what? That never changes. If you treat people right and you kind of learn how to put yourself in other people's shoes, 9 times out of 10, you're going to make the right decision anyway. Because as humans, we can learn, if we learn empathy, we can learn how to treat people. And a lot of times, the laws are based upon non-empathetic ways of treating people or dealing with people. So if we learn that empathy, then we just kind of have that baseline level of knowledge to be able to interact in our society and be compliant.
So at its core, it's really very simple then, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem. Everybody's like, how are we going to ever fix this? But honestly, I really do feel if we start that empathy foundation, then a lot of the stuff just comes really naturally.
All right, we talked about education, educating the public. You've got an event coming up, don't you? Not this month, but coming up in about a month and a half. It'll be coming up in March. Tell me, pretty big event. Tell me about this.
Sure, it's our annual Fair Housing Seminar. I'm so excited about it. This year, I want to say our highlight, which, I mean, the whole thing, I just love it. I really care, as you can see, I really care about this.
You're passionate about it, I can
Very
tell.
passionate. We are offering continuing education credits for social workers, attorneys, and we just got our approval today to offer for real estate agents. I'm so excited about that. So they can come and then they can get credit, towards their career.
Continuing education, right?
Exactly. So the basic gist of our Fair Housing Seminar is to educate the public on what their rights and responsibilities are. We're having different sessions. We're changing it up a little bit this year. We're going to have breakout sessions. We're going to have a panel. The main topics are Fair Housing 101. We're going to be talking about reasonable accommodations, specifically. Well, not specifically, we're going to be talking about those in general, but we really want to cover assistance animals, which a lot of people get really confused about because they're service animals, they're emotional support animals, and they're all under this umbrella of assistance animals. And we really want to break that down for people and help people to understand their rights and responsibilities so that everyone can live enjoyably in their home. That's the main goal of it. Our theme is, fair housing redefining home, because home isn't just, these 4 walls. It's so much more. And it means so much to people, and it intersects with so many things in our society: employment, transportation, childcare. If people don't live enjoyably in their home, if they can't get to work, if they, if there's so many things going on at home, that's your safe spot. So you want that to be protected. And fair housing, that's what fair housing is about.
Right. So who is invited to this?
Anybody is invited.
If you're a real estate agent, if you're an attorney, that's who can get continuing education. But even a guy like me that just wants to find out a little more, I can come? Yeah.
I feel like, a lot of people think housing, I think a lot of people don't even really kind of start to understand what housing really is. It means so much more than just, like I said, these 4 walls, or, fair housing is more than about the housing authority. It's not about that. It's this kind of basic idea that people deserve to live enjoyably in their dwelling. That's kind of how HUD describes it and defines it. And HUD is so much more than just the housing authority. They have so many programs that help to cultivate the community so that it can be a better place for everyone to live. I think that even people that, sometimes people think it's about kind of low income or people that don't have that much money. It's about everybody, all income levels, because you know what? Housing affects community development. Housing, if we have poor housing, if we have people that are, if their mental health is exacerbated by unfair or poor housing, all these different things have a trickle effect in our community. People are at the emergency room more. Kids aren't going to school. People can't get to work. Jobs. I know we all care about that. This is important. So everyone has a stake in housing, and everyone needs to understand that.
All right. If somebody wants to find out more about this, can I go online and find out any information?
Yes, on our website, the City of Salina's website. If you go under the Community Relations tab, under News and Information, we have information about the Fair Housing Seminar. You can also call our office. You can speak to Julio Ramos, who is a community relations specialist, or myself, and that our number is 785-309-5745. You can email Julia or myself. Julia's email is Julia, JULIA.Ramos, RAMOS, at salina.org, and then my email is Evelyn, EVELYN, .Nelson, NELSON, at salina.org.
All right, we've got about 30 seconds left.
Okay.
You got a final thought?
Oh, I just hope that everyone can, find a reason to come to our fair housing seminar. I think it's so important to cultivating this amazing community that we all know and love. Salina is amazing. I've been here a year. I feel so welcome. I'm so excited to be here, and I just want everybody to understand how important fair housing and civil rights in general is to a healthy, safe, and prosperous community.
Evelyn Nelson, Salina Community Relations, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching. This has been Your City in Action here on Salina Media Connection.